Here are 50 silly questions for atheists written by some person in Comic Sans. Question number 1. Why don't you believe in God? I don't understand what most religious people even mean by God. The definitions that I hear from apologists and theologians seem self-contradictory to me, so I don't understand what it would mean for such a being to exist. Question number 2. Where is your evidence that God doesn't exist? The biggest evidence that God doesn't exist is the self-contradictory nature of the definition of God that I most commonly hear from apologists. God is supposedly a timeless, spaceless, disembodied mind. To say that something exists is to say that it has location in space-time, or is space-time itself. To say that something is timeless and spaceless is therefore to say it doesn't exist. Also, the mind is an activity carried out by the body, specifically the brain. Therefore, it is a contradiction for a mind to be disembodied. Question number 3. Why do you hate God? I wasn't aware that I did hate God, so I don't know how to answer that. Question number 4. Do you believe in the existence of Jesus? Yes, I suspect that he probably existed. I don't buy that he rose from the grave, though. Question number 5. If no, where is your evidence that Jesus didn't exist? This question doesn't really apply to me, but it's interesting that this is the second question demanding evidence of a negative. Question number 6. Why do you hate Jesus? Why do you think people hate things that they don't believe in? 7. Have you ever read the Bible? Not all of it. I've read the Gospels and the Pentateuch, though. 8. Do you believe people have souls? No, I think souls have the same problem as God in that they purport to be disembodied minds, which is a contradiction in terms. 9. If no, where is your evidence? My evidence is that the idea of a disembodied mind is a contradiction. 10. Do you reject all gods or just the Christian God? Well, I wouldn't be much of an atheist if I believed in any gods at all, would I? 11. Why do you care so much about what other people believe? That's an ironic question to come from someone who practices a religion that commands people to proselytize. I don't actually care what they believe, but if they make claims about atheists, which I consider potentially defamatory, I will rebut those claims, and I'm happy to explain why I do not share their beliefs. 12. Where do you get your sense of right and wrong from? I get it from my conscience. 13. What evidence would persuade you that God exists? Well, first I'd need to hear a definition of God that I can understand, rather than one which is self-contradictory. Once I heard such a definition, I could then figure out what evidence could convince me of such a thing, but I would need a coherent definition first. 14. Why are you against the idea of faith? I'm not per se. I only want folks who believe things on faith to act on that faith at their own risk alone, and not insist that others behave according to that belief. 15. Why do you attack Christians? Do I attack Christians? I rebut their claims. Is that an attack? 16. Why do you hate Christians? I don't. 17. Why do you mock and scoff at Christians? To fulfill the prophecy of 2 Peter 3:3, of course. 18. Are you aware that you are fulfilling biblical prophecy? Yes, of course, that's the whole point. 19. Why do you want to stop people from believing in God? I don't. I simply want to explain why I find the arguments of apologists to be unconvincing. 20. Why do you give Muslims a pass? I don't. I have several videos rebutting the arguments of Muslim apologists. 21. Why do you pretend to have all the answers? All of the answers to what? I wasn't aware that I did pretend to have all of the answers. 22. Why do you claim to be skeptical when you are unwilling to change your mind? I'm not unwilling to change my mind. Give me a definition of God that I can understand, and show me that a preponderance of evidence is consistent with such a God's existence, and I will believe in that God. 23. Why do you go after Christian museums that are just trying to tell the truth? I suspect you mean the Noah's Ark Museum and the Creationist Museums. I rebut their claims because they are not consistent with the evidence, if that's what you mean by go after. 24. How can you claim to be agnostic and atheist at the same time? Because there are multiple legitimate definitions of atheist, and some of them are broad enough to encompass agnostics. 25. Why do you reject people's personal experiences? I don't, per se. It depends on how much the purported personal experience is consistent with other well-established facts. Everyone does this to some degree. Christians do it whenever the purported personal experience of a Muslim or a Hindu contradicts Christian doctrine. 26. If atheism is just an opinion, why do you behave like it is a fact? I don't believe that it's just an opinion. Rather, it seems more like a tautology. How do you square the fact that some of the most evil people in history are atheists? Well, not all of those people were atheists, but even if they were, you'd have to connect the dots for me with respect to what atheism has to do with their behavior. This question is like asking, how do you square the fact that you believe that 2 + 2 = 4 when all of those same people also believed that? Does that make you question your belief that 2 + 2 = 4? 28. Why do you believe in evolution? Because we can see it happening in real time in bacteria and viruses. And fossils and genetics all look as though they are the product of the same process. 29. Where is your evidence for evolution? Well, the Lenski experiment is arguably the clearest example of observed evolution. Look into that. 30. Have you ever observed evolution? Yeah, I see new strains of pathogens pop up in the population all the time. 31. Do you believe in abiogenesis, panspermia, or creation? I believe in abiogenesis. Since we are made of chemicals, it seems like the idea that life came from chemicals is the simplest explanation for the existence of life. 32. If you believe in abiogenesis or panspermia, where is your evidence? My evidence for abiogenesis is the fact that every organism is made of chemicals. 33. What was the first life form? There's debate about what counts as a life form, but I'm partial to the idea that self-replicating nucleotide chains, even precellular ones, count as life and were the first form of life. 34. Where did the first life form come from? The first nucleotide chains formed from unconnected nucleotides. 35. Could the first life form reproduce on its own? Yes, that's why I called them self-replicating nucleotide chains. 36. Did the first life form have DNA? I doubt it. It probably was merely a string of RNA. 37. Did the first life form seek out food or did it use photosynthesis? It chained together other nucleotides, if you consider nucleotides food. 38. Are viruses alive? Probably not because they don't self-replicate. They need to commandeer cells in order to reproduce. 39. Why do you believe in the Big Bang Theory? Because the universe shows every sign of expanding, and the cosmic microwave background radiation corroborates the idea that the matter in the universe was once in a very dense state in the past. 40. Where is your evidence for the Big Bang? That's effectively the same question that I just answered. 41. Did you observe the Big Bang? We can observe the effects of the Big Bang. 42. Why do you believe the Earth is millions of years old? Because of what we know about erosion, sedimentation, and radioactive decay, and how much of these things we see in the Earth. 43. Where is your evidence for the Earth being millions of years old? In the Earth itself. 44. How old are you? 40. 45. Why do you reject the historical flood as described in Genesis? Because of the lack of evidence of a genetic bottleneck in any of the many species that such an event would cause, the fact that freshwater fish still exist, even though a global flood would drive them all to extinction, and the fact that there is no archaeological evidence of global simultaneous cultural disruption. 46. Where is your evidence that the flood didn't happen? See above. 47. Why do you reject the story of the Garden of Eden? Well, which part? There's too much genetic diversity for everyone to have come from only 2 people. The idea of abiogenesis makes a lot more sense than people being created by someone blowing into some dust. Also, I don't understand how sin can be inheritable. I could go on. 48. Where is your evidence that the Garden of Eden didn't exist? See above. 49. Why do you reject the sacrifice that Jesus made? I don't see how his sacrifice absolves me of anything. If I'm guilty, I should get the punishment, not an innocent person. 50. Where is your evidence that Jesus wasn't crucified? I suspect that Jesus was crucified. To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.